Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending tonight's planning committee meeting of East Finchley Town Council on the 14th of May, so April. We begin with public participation. We have a fair few members of the public in the chamber tonight, so thank you very much for coming. Does anyone have anything they would like to raise before we start? No. Great, thank you very much. Second of them, we very kindly we have Pierre Lederer and Tom Drysdale who have come along to talk about the proposed development just over the road here. The redevelopment of the old police station.
Sorry, Chair, before we move on, can we take apologies, please?
That's a very good idea.
But apologies from Councillor Scott, he has a work commitment.
Oh.
If the council committee would like to approve that.
If we could raise our hands to approve those apologies. Very much. Thank you. Shall I carry on where I was?
Please.
Thank you very much for that prompt. So yes, as I say, Pierre Lederer and Tom Drysdale at the front have kindly come along to talk about the redevelopment of the old police station. I would like to stress this is a pre-planning presentation. So the public are very welcome to view the presentation with us. But please do not speak or give any view as to whether and members, should I say, please don't give any views as to whether we should support the application or not. This is purely just for educational purposes at this point. The plans will be submitted at a later time to Middlesex District Council and will come before us at that time. And if I may, I'd like to pass over to Pierre and Tom. If you could keep it under 10 minutes if possible, within 10 minutes, that'd be great, but I know you probably have it to say. Thank you very much.
We'll try. First, thanks for the opportunity to try and present this to you. Could you pass on to the please?
Keep saying it.
No.
I just thought I'd start by just explaining to everybody what we've got here. This is the site of the proposed development, which we're calling East Court. This is what we're calling the East Wing. This is the cell block with the building, and this is garages. Yeah. This is Blackwell Hollow, and this is the old courthouse, and this is East Court cottages and East Courthouse. Okay, pass on. Just a few photographs, just so everyone's aware of what we're doing. This is the entrance to the site, which is would be a mutual entrance. This is the east, what we're calling East Wing. That's the old courthouse. Yeah. The nursery. Move on, please.
There we go.
And this is down the end of the site near the East Court cottages, which is the entrance to the courtyard. And this is the gable to the East Wing, the existing building. I believe this set of buildings was constructed according to someone who told me, was constructed in the early 60s, and together with 6 and 8 East Court cottages. 8 there. These were the police houses. And this was the sub-divisional headquarters for the local area for the police. And it's been vacant, as far as I know, since 2017 when the Checkmate police station was open. I know that was open because we did it. I don't know if we all knew at that time, but I think it actually been vacated quite a bit before then, because the headquarters went to the so forth. So it's been empty since then. Can we move on, please? This is the internal courtyard. Again, it's a cell block at that end. Garages. what we're calling the west wing. So there's a lot of tarmac, a little bit of grass, parking for 43 cars. And theoretically, it could be opened again as a police station, but it could be converted with community development. And if it was under the building regulations, you could have staff of about 140. 140 people and 43 car spaces. I don't think it really is suitable for that, but it is permitted development. Moving on, please. Again, it's just a view of, this is a view from what was the reflectory towards Eastbrook Cottages and Eastbrook House. That's 8 Eastbrook Cottages and that the East Wing, what we call East Wing, and in the middle there is an electrical substation. That's just a general view. This is the back of the garages, which is the space between the garages and the bank down to what we'll follow. Just to give you an idea again, and see what we can. Okay. These are just the existing floor plans. I know they're not very interesting, but that's what's there. We just keep going through these, please. That's.
Oops, sorry. Did you want to that one?
Next one, please. Next one. This is the allocation from Mid Sussex. Mid Sussex District Council. Was 22 they adopted that, and they identified it for high density housing, 2.5 stories, and with an indicated number of units 22. This is the layout that accompanied that. So they are envisaging demolition of the whole complex and creating a new 2.5 stories. Yeah, that's what we're. I think that's the yes. So we didn't like that. We thought that was a good idea. Could you go back to that one, please? This is 2.5 stories, and it is, I don't know, about 5 meters away from the back gardens, Eastbrook Cottages and the such Eastbrook House. But we didn't like that. And building right to the boundary, which had to have serious technical problems in terms of foundations, then down to Blackwell Hollow. So we didn't like that idea. And we thought, because the buildings were very solid, we thought we would first try and see if we could convert the whole thing to arts rather than building new. The garage was also we couldn't convert. The cell block was almost impossible because of the people have seen the cells, but it's just a cell block. There's a prison. So it was possible. So I think the plan was to convert, if we can move on there. Yeah, just move on to the next. So that just shows the extent of the site. The red areas where we're developing, the blue is they also within the same ownership. So we then looked at an initial plan. This is not the initial plan. We did the initial development. Initial plan, we submitted it to Mid Sussex as a pre-app. And we had a meeting with them going back a few weeks now, and they gave their comments on the pre-app and so on. So anyways, converting these blocks with also doing alterations to the roof, make it the same pitch as Eastbrook Cottages, and having some flats in the roof. Demolishing the cell block and the garages and building a new greening up the potential courtyard. And but having area there for the emergency vehicles and bin logging and that type of thing. There's certain regulations as to how far people have to walk to get to bins, and certain regulations about how far bin can walk to get to the streets. So there, and the fire engines the same issues. Okay, we can move on. These are basically how we you can flick through these really, because I don't think you're going to be able to access all. But that's how we converted that wing into flats and those into the new build. So we're talking about a total of 33 units now, and 8 2-bed 4-person, 10 2-bed 3-person, 12 1-bed 2-person, and 3 1-person units. They're all to national standards, and it's to be noted that as part of the consultation, we have a policy department at North Sussex, and he said that although they had said 22 in the allocation, he just had a rough guess at it. In excess of it. That's part of the deal. Obviously, part of the equation is to do with parking and the road and traffic. And I'll go into that later, but basically we're comparing the comparisons to what it would be in terms of traffic, the comparison of what it would be because it can be options.
Can I stop you very briefly? Yeah, just have a question.
Yeah. Just a question of clarification. Thank you so far. The floor plans and the elevations, are they the pre-app discussion or is that what's been submitted?
That's what's been amended since the pre-app.
Okay.
I was intending to do just the initial, but then we waited a long time for the.
You mentioned the pre-app discussions. I didn't know whether they.
So we've developed it since.
Yeah.
But it's not finalised yet. It will be finalised. Hopefully, if there's any comments tonight, we'll try and incorporate the comments that are. Sorry, can we move on to the next? This is part of the parking and vehicle assessment, where he basically just described examples there. This is highway engineers anyway, probably was. But, yeah, this is the tricks analysis. This indicates how many traffic movements there would be, especially at peak hours. The peak hours we're talking about is 8 to 9. This is all done according to which good practice. So 19 traffic movements between 8 and 9. I read that, but 14, I think it says between 7 and. I can't read it. But anyway, the evening is roughly the same. To cut a long story short, and this is a long document, which will be submitted with the application. He says that this is far less traffic movements than if it was offices. As part of the application, he says that the biodiversity analysis. It was fairly straightforward in this case. And this was a very big bit for the ecologists. Basically, there's very little diversity on the site because it's not tarmac and water runs. So we'll be adopting his recommendations as to we're doing a comprehensive landscape theme. That will be part of a condition of the approval. We're confident as land and we've got to get all various different things within it, and that will include back boxes, B boxes, all the things. Okay. But he reckons we'll get 23% net gain from biodiversity. We also did, a real analysis done. The green is what's there just now, the blue is roughly what we're proposing. And that, if you go to the next slide, part of this, well, again, it's a complicated thing. It was all about shading and how it was in particular. We had just stood on. What his conclusion was, but obviously it's and concludes the steep meets the targets on the VRE value criteria and should be considered accepted. And that's really the end of my short presentation. Basically, I think you've got the opportunity to provide homes for quite a few people. There's 3 small families. And it's rather than putting on the greenfield somewhere, this is what you would call, or what I would call, a brownfield development, which is the encouragement is to build on brownfield. So I think it would not have the conservation officer said she had no problems with it at all. She thought it was all an improvement. That was the same with the design. They think the building as it is, I'm not sure they do, but they think the building as it is fairly ugly, and that any improvement is an improvement. I'm not sure I agree with that. But we are intending to do quite a bit on the existing building with the tile hanging, balconies, and dormers and so forth to try and make it more of a domestic feel and better relationship with the park. And that is basically it, Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. A lot of information to unpack there. I had a couple of things that I wanted to you've touched on already regarding it'll be interesting to see more meat on those bones as it starts to come to fruition.
I'm quite happy to send a whole document through to all these. I mean, we're hoping that within a short space of time, an application will be made, and all these documents will be lodged with the planning authority.
The other one I had in mind was I appreciate you're looking to sort of refurbish a lot of I don't say repap standing there, but make vast changes to what's existing in the building. In making those changes, I wondered what you might have thought at this stage about disability access, making it more accessible for people than the old building currently. Is there any?
Well, there is obviously disabled criteria that we've got to meet, and basically the ground floor of all of them will be made accessible. Of the new, anyway, we can't do much to do with. And the new buildings, all the ground floor will be disabled. Well, not disabled, ambient disabled, I think the problem is.
Okay, well, those are the 2 points that I had. So I'm quite open to questions. I believe my vice chair, Councillor Pond, has a couple, so take it away, please.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. So just a couple of things, and I was feverishly trying to write down how many units, how many people. I've probably got this slightly out, but I think basically 89 people I roughly calculated, if I've got my maths, and I was scribbling frantically. So with 43 car parking spaces, that's going to be a little bit tight, especially given the nature.
I think you've got to look at it pragmatically. There's not going to be 4 adults in a 2-bed house. It's very unlikely there's going to be 4 adults in a 2-bed house. We're assuming that the 2-bed flats will be a couple, maybe, or 2 single guys, or whatever, or obviously a couple with a child. So I don't think you can't make that total comparison. And obviously the occupancy is never going to be that anyway. a lot of them are single studio flat, single bedroom flats and studio flat. And so it's unlikely that it's going to be fully occupied too. You know, the majority is going to be a single bedroom flat, which will be for whoever wants to have them.
And thank you. Just to be clear, I think you said there was existing 43 cars are on the plan. On the plan you're submitting, there's 43 car parking spaces, is that right?
No, it's 34, which meets the criteria of the Sussex, West Sussex demand calculator.
Okay, understood. So
it makes it of disabled and visitor spaces and whatever.
thank you. So that's covered my car parking question. I've got two others. One was on sustainability. I didn't hear sort of any mention of solar panels, water harvesting, and one of the challenges, if I can just finish, one of the challenges with you reusing one of the existing buildings is I doubt that is as efficient as modern builds are. So I just wondered if you've given that any thought.
It will be. The U values of the existing building will be brought up to kind of standard. I mean, that's a requirement of building regs anyway. They will be brought up.
And solar panels, water harvesting, any other?
We're still investigating that, really. It's an economy.
Most likely use heat pumps.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other one I was going to bring up. But yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, you talked about, thank you, the sort of net gain on the ecologist front. Just in terms of, is there any investment in place-based community space as part of this, or are you
No, we're not
intending to do a contribution to the community in terms of?
Well, there will be a contribution anyway. As you'll imagine, there'll be sales. There will be a vast amount of money spent on sales, and that's distributed between the county and the district.
Yeah, so it's a contribution rather than anything specifically that you are intending.
We're not really building family houses here. We're not imagining there's going to be too many children. And obviously, even if there you've got an experience.
Yes, indeed, that's paid for by East Grinstead Town Council and the local people.
All these
East Grinstead Town Council.
All these people will pay council.
Indeed.
But it's a contribution.
It's a contribution.
So we'll be contributing any of those.
Yeah, indeed. It was more whether you'd earmarked specific funds for a particular project, not just contributions. Thanks. That's my questions. Thank you, Chair.
Anything else from the floor?
Thank you. About the biodiversity, what trees are you thinking of planting? I saw it was small. I just wondered, are they going to be fruit? Are they going to be berry?
What we've shown is purely indicative. There will be a detailed landscaping plan. He's asking for native trees.
Good.
So, but there will be a fully detailed landscaping plan as far as.
And also, are you going to install any swift boxes in the new build?
Bird boxes, bee boxes,
Fabulous.
boxes.
Councillor Oden.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Pierre. Couple of questions. What's the sort of mix of units in the buildings?
Two bed, 2 4-bedroom flats.
Sorry, how many? I missed
8
8 for that. Thank you.
2 bed, 4-bedroom flats.
2 bedrooms.
10 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom flats. 12 1-bed, 2-bedroom flats. That's basically double bedroom. And 3 1-bedroom studio.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a sort of price range that you're looking at in these buildings? Have you thought of that?
I imagine probably starting 200,000 to 1 beds, give or take. It depends, because it'll be a year and a half in the market. So obviously, after a small.
Is there anything with regards to affordable housing?
No, it won't be affordable housing. We're selecting viability scheme.
Right.
Because of the inherent value. So it's quite justifiable.
They have suggested with us, have suggested 10.
Okay. I noticed that the height on the east wing was increasing.
Yeah, the pitch of the roof is changing.
Yeah,
to a, I think, that one. It's around about 50, I think it's 40 degrees. It's
Yeah.
the same as the house.
so will it, so how much is, in terms of a height, how much would that be?
I think it's an extra 2 metres from the lee base, but not the.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, sorry, that on the presentation, you were talking about parking bays on the road, which are on the estate. So is that just a
No, I
description?
never said on the road.
Oh no, I saw a picture of it, that's all.
Oh, yeah, that was when they were doing the traffic system.
Right, okay.
So they described the whole thing. They described the fact that, actually, I never saw them mention it. It's so confusing. But they did explain that there was parking on the road. That's all part of the assessment,
Okay,
right? What the restrictions are.
yeah,
And I had a meeting with local residents and they explained all the problems with parking too. Not parking, but parking and traffic movements.
yeah, okay, thank you, Tom, cheers. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. I think councillor Peacock wanted to.
Yeah, thank you. Just two quick questions. What provision are you making for EVs, electric car charging points?
So
Electric car charging.
all these stations next to the existing building,
Yeah.
along, I can't remember how many now. I think it's something like 8 or 10 will have chargers.
Okay. And lastly, you
I might be
mentioned
wrong saying it, I can't remember how many. It's the whole length of that little.
at the moment it's being addressed, so
Yeah.
to a certain extent, the number to be confirmed. Secondly, you mentioned about ambulance disability access on the ground floor. Are there plans for a lift?
No,
Okay.
the only access would be on, for the ambulance disabled over the ground floor. All the doors and so forth will be big enough so that if someone is in a wheelchair, they can get. Not fully disabled, someone, but disabled someone, which needs to be disabled.
Thank you.
Think I saw a hand from councillor Barnett a bit earlier on.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for letting me speak, Chairman. I'm not a member of the planning committee. Car parking. Now, district council planning rules when they come to car parking, need from flats always assume that there is a nearby overflow of car parking on the street and all that. The nearest overflow car parking here is Bracknell Farm Road. So do we have clear ability to serve the needs of all of your residents and their visitors?
We can all work within the regulations and the guidelines that we are given. But in terms of building regs, we will meet the building regs. In terms of planning, we will meet the requirements of the policy.
The policy is, as I said, always assumes that you've got a nearby facility which is not a. So it's something where.
I was suggesting that you say that in the policy, it just says. There's a land cap at one end, and at the other end, you get 10 minutes.
I spent 15 years on the district council planning committee,
Uh-huh.
and I know all of the pitfalls of the requirements. And one of them is that the assumption is you've got. Which are nearby.
Trying to strike we also keep minutes can. We overdo the marking. It will improve on the same. The other one is, this is. The parking lots are not required to provide parking. We've obviously met them, obviously in any event. A lot of these apartments won't, most likely won't have using a transport. So it's a little bit. Keep it as good as possible.
And we've obviously provided 2 people for. Although you had 2025, I don't think we put it in.
Well, that's the point, is a your accommodation for those.
And just, and that's not being raised, but I didn't mention about that an indicative scheme that was very close to planning. Obviously, we'll have a structural engineer investigate the ground conditions and stability of the ground and how we do foundations will be appropriate to avoid any issues. But we are a lot further away than they had. It's never been.
It's very close.
I would like to come back to Councillor Bond very briefly.
Yeah, just a quick one. Do you know roughly what the density is of each of the units in terms of, obviously you've gone from originally there was 22 units to 33. Has that changed the density, or was the footprint increased of the?
And the density will have increased over the site.
But is the footprint you're building, the habitable footprint, has that increased from the site allocation
It will have.
footprint?
But it's within the 2.5 stories.
Is okay.
We've still kept within the
Yeah.
increase the numbers.
Fine. So it's still within the same perimeter, you've not enlarged the print. Okay, thank you.
We effectively used more of the roof space, which wasn't.
If we don't have any more burning questions from the floor, I would like to finish with one very briefly, if I may. I believe you mentioned that you were hoping to this application to go forward soon. I'm not sure if you actually mentioned a particular time frame you thought you could actually put moving forward.
Well, we were waiting until after this meeting in case there was any points from the floor that I can incorporate.
Right.
So the example design and access statement, that's part of it. And we've got a plan statement and the community involvement statement, which this is part. So,
Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation, and yeah, we look forward to having a look at that when it comes before us again this year. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you to our members of the public that have come along tonight. I hope that's important. You're more than welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting if you wish, but there's no obligation to. Thank you very much.
What did you discuss with the rest?
Oh, it's never done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a choice.
Really, once it's, really should come from the chairman, but once it's being submitted to Mid Sussex District Council, there'll be a planning application number, and if you search that on the portal, all the documentation will be submitted, and that's how you would submit a formal representation to Mid Sussex with the planning authority. Sorry, Chairman, I was asked. I do apologise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
No pressure, Paul.
Right, so provided I don't skip anything else this time, I think we're gonna have to approve the minutes of the last meeting. They have been circulated, I believe, so does anyone have any comments they'd like to make on the minutes? Yes, that's a good idea. Yes, I'd like to propose the minutes, please, and can I have a second?
I'll second that, Chair.
I'm so glad you did, thank you very much. If I could have a race.
No question, or
Any comments?
any comments?
You did the comments first.
Oh,
Yeah. We don't have,
no, Chair.
can we have a vote in favour, please?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Forgive it all going backwards, but we've got.
Oh,
A bit later.
it's a bit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I put them in
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
horse meat,
I'm not planning to.
so head and feet.
So, do we have any declarations of interest?
Yeah, I'm a member of Mid Sussex District Council and on the District Planning Committee. I therefore reserve the right.
Are you, councillor? Have the council met yet? Don't think you are for this
Of course,
meeting.
we have.
Okay, we have none.
Because
Right.
this meeting you're not, because I believe
Okay.
the district council haven't yet met for their annual meeting
So
to
it's better-
determine committees. So next time you're given an.
Point of order, Senator. The existing committees still stand
Yeah.
until tomorrow.
Oh, do they?
You're quite right.
Right.
Councillor Peacock and myself
In that case,
are on
then,
safe.
carry on.
So for thoroughness and due process. Thank you. I'm a Mid Sussex District Councillor and on the District Planning Committee. I therefore reserve my right to change my opinion and thoughts on any subsequent analyses, information and reports submitted to me at a later date on any application that I study, review, or consult tonight. Thank you.
Well remembered.
You enjoyed it, haven't you? Councillor Whitaker.
And the same goes.
Chair. As a Mid Sussex District Councillor, I do serve on the licensing committee.
Yes, indeed you do. Thank you very much, Councillor Motley. Do we have any more?
Probably not.
Goodness for that. I'm guessing we note those.
They're just declared, so that.
We will get there, committee, we will get there, don't worry. Apparently I have some chairman's announcements. You may have noticed, we had, Mr. Drysdale and Lederer before us, a short while ago. The former chair and clerk met with, Mr. Drysdale and, Lederer at the old police station to talk about the plans for the old police station. And that resulted in the presentation that we just had tonight. We are aware that Infrastructure First, a community group based in Inverhorn, Belbridge area, have been advised in response to Freedom of Information requests that all but 7,500 of over 1 million collected at S106 for road improvements for the A22 corridor into East Grinstead remain unspent. They have contended that the non-delivery of improvements were needed for 1,623 homes approved and have simply exacerbated the traffic problems along the A22 corridor. The Sussex District Council have advised that failure to deliver the road improvements required for earlier development is a material matter and can be raised when considering planning applications for new development in the area, particularly if large scale. It may well be worth bearing this in mind by our own responses to Mid Sussex District Council. We have previously been advised that an overcapacity junction is only severe if the new development is the only reason for classifying it as such. This new advice suggests that we can point to the failure to implement previous road improvements as part of our own representations. We've also been made aware that the Lewes District Council has been designated under Section 62A of the Town and Country Planning Act. Yeah, I just confused myself from the same. This relates to its substandard performance in respect of quality of decision making for major planning applications. The threshold for that for designation is that 10% or more of an authority's decisions on applications for major development made during the 24-month assessment period are overturned at appeal. The latest figure for MSDC is just 0.9%. So that's a nice little comparison. What this means in practice is that developers have the option of submitting major planning applications direct to the planning inspectorate for determination, and thus bypassing the local planning authority. And we do have a couple of appeals to note for item 6.
We'll move on, Chair. I don't know if anyone on the committee might want to add something to those comments, or maybe make a
That
comment.
seems fair. Does anyone have any comments to make?
Yeah, just on that stat. So I think you can look at that two ways. You could look at that as Lewis being overzealous potentially and refusing things that should have gone through, or you could see it as Mid Sussex being overly generous and not rejecting. So I wouldn't necessarily read too much into these figures. What I would say is it does give Mid Sussex, and us by virtue of providing recommendations, leeway to maybe be a bit more scrutinous of those if we do indeed feel that they are not meeting the planning application. I think there are a couple where they are probably borderline decisions, and I suppose this may be a stat that we use maybe on some of those borderline decisions to think about. That's not to say we say yes or no to any particular one, just it gives us a bit more latitude.
Thank you, Councillor Pond. Councillor Winston.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, just to elaborate on that, effectively what that means is Lewis District Council in special measures which is not a good place to be. And the effect of it is it could be that Mid Sussex suffer with site allocations and development, unwanted development, right on their border, particularly in the Lewis sort of boundary. And potentially there are other districts that surround Mid Sussex, especially to the north, that could be going down the same route, which, if that happens, could affect us as well. But the pertinent point to make about infrastructure first, this is a long-standing campaign that they've done, which is admirable work over years, and painstaking new research, and the planning officer has confirmed that the findings of that will be material considerations in any future planning decision making, particularly for large sites, of which we have 2, particularly SA 19 and 20, that are due probably later this year. So it's a very well worded note from Steve, and I'd like to congratulate Infrastructure First for the superb work they continue to do on behalf of this town and work with this town council.
If I may just come back on that, thank you, Councillor. Yes, we talk about infrastructure every time we talk about particularly those 2 main developments. So to be able to speak on them as more material considerations will certainly be help with some of our frustrations. Councillor Pond.
Yeah, I think Councillor Whittaker raised a good point. It sort of begs the question why it took Infrastructure First to have this and get this information. And I'm pleased to see that Mid Sussex actually did respond with this, but they had the information, and unless I've misunderstood, they know what Section 106 money, or does it go to? I thought it was all Mid Sussex, or is it county money? Because maybe somebody could elaborate. Is it county? Maybe why was it that county hadn't informed, or we weren't made aware of these funds? I don't know if anybody on this council, on this committee, rather knows that. But it just seemed that we require a community group, and a very admirable community group, to find that information out when it should be readily available.
Can I come back on that, sir?
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to prolong the evening, so it's useful information for the committee. Mid Sussex District Council have to produce an annual report of Section 108 for each civic year for Section 106 contributions effectively levied and collected and spent. And that covers obviously not just the district council, but it covers the county council as well. Okay. The point Infrastructure First have done is effectively they've done a continual audit process on the district council and particularly the county council. So, you know, they are very switched on and very knowledgeable.
And just to add, sorry, Chairman, this process can take 10 to 50, well, I think there's a 10-year limit, 7-year limit, but these allocation of funds are made every year when an application is approved, and it can take a number of years for an actual project or improvement to be implemented. Hence, it's monitored every year, and sometimes they need a particular application to be implemented.
Sorry to come back again, I want to hold it, but it's directly relevant to this particular point because there, you know, there is the crossroad corridor study between the A22 and A264 that is ongoing, and funds that haven't been spent potentially could go into the pot for any solution that Surrey and County Council and West Sussex County Council decide or hopefully decide to do for the Star Junction and maybe other junctions. So that money is directly relevant to the potential future solutions to our traffic junction problem. So that's why that.
Yeah, yeah. Of which we talk about the junction quite a lot.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the clarification from our two esteemed district councillors. Does anyone have any more comments they'd like to make on that one? Hopefully I can find where we were. Thank you. So yes, as I said at one point in the meeting, we do have two appeals. Forgive me. I've forgotten. Do I need to read these in full?
You don't need to, they're on the agenda, so there's no need to do so. It's really just to be noted that they have been submitted.
We could note that, that's great. Thank you. And we do, for item 7, have licensing applications. Does anyone have any comments to make on those two licensing applications that we have on the agenda? No, so in that case, we will note those licensing applications. Thank you very much. All right. Item 8, now when you've got a list, this is very hard for me to say too many times, so I hope you won't think about it now. We have the consultation on the sex establishment licensing policy. I didn't do that. So you will have all seen the fairly heavy draft document in the notes in the agenda. So the consultation ends 31st of May 2024. No comments have been submitted at this time to the clerk, and the recommendation, unless anyone wants to make any comments on it first, if that's appropriate.
If you propose the recommendation, shall get seconded, then you can throw it.
Let's do that. So we do have a recommendation before us that committees support the draft policy as consulted by the Sussex District Council, highlighting our support for the town centre and business parks in the parish as not being suitable. I think I said that part right. For a sex establishment to be traded. I'm happy to propose this. May I have a second?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bond. Do we have any comments on this before we go to the vote? All those in favour, please. Thank you very much. Item 9, the two protected tree applications. Obviously, most of us will know by now that we are subject to any.
Trees on here. Yeah.
It's all on there.
That's a good one. That's very good. Forgive me, committee, I forgot we actually have this. Yeah. Probably should have moved us on the agenda a long time ago. So yes, we do have the two tree applications, and does anyone have any comments on these? I see a shake of the head from Councillor Mrs. Lockwood, which is quite. So given we don't have any comments to make, I would like that we support approval subject to no adverse report from the New Sussex District Council Tree Officer. And can I have a second for that?
I'll second that yet again.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pond. Can I have a show of hands as to approving that? Thank you very much. Oh yeah, we want to have, we want to actually look at the applications, don't we?
The next one. Sorry.
Okay, so the first application that we have to have a look at tonight is 28 Railway Approach. As Councillor Scott is not with us this evening, I will attempt to run through this. So essentially the proposed development is a mix of retail space and residential units. So it's ground floor retail unit with 7 new residential apartments in the property. Why is it this thing on the big screen?
You need to move all the big screen, won't you?
So on the right hand photo, we have the proposed redevelopment. So currently it's I believe the property is currently a barber shop, and obviously you can see that the new design is somewhat different than the current street scene. We have actually had over 200 objections and comments about particularly about the design being out of keeping. I, for one, would probably agree that does look rather out of keeping. I'm not an architect by any means, but the design itself isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's certainly not fit, in my opinion, for the railway approach. I can't quite work out exactly where an appropriate area would be for something like that, but I don't think railway approach really does it. So I think that's our main concern with this particular. That's what so a couple more images here. So with regards to my understanding is the retail part of the complex is going to be front here. With the design again, I don't really think that it would even be appealing for anyone wanting to go in there for retail use either. And then if we move on slightly, so we can see now the rear of the property. I'd like to think it would look better in real life. It doesn't fill me with confidence at this stage. So the other issue that we probably would have is parking down railway approach isn't the easiest. And there's a question about overdevelopment of the railway approach, which we talk about time and time again, really. I know railway approach is an area that we'd like to focus on to provide a mix of retail and usage, but I think it's quite important that we get it right before we start trying to develop that area. So just for clarity, I'll do my best. So these
Shipping containers, are they cheap?
That, yeah, I thought they looked shit, but that's not bad, yeah. So, I believe this is
Freedom.
one,
Hmm.
this is planned to be one, residential unit, obviously off of the main building. And then I believe in the main building.
So,
If I come back, we'll get there, committee, I promise, right, so, there's going to be, residential space in, I can't remember, you have to forgive me, I can't remember the specific numbers of each one, but there's going to be a total of 7, there's the one at the back end, there's one on the lower ground floor, there will be one at the top floor, and I should have read this, I do apologise. Hopefully you've read the agenda. So I probably rambled on for a little while about that particular one. You can probably tell I'm not massively in favour of it, and I think it was left, if it was left to
You're going to need a recommendation, which will be seconded and open to comments.
So, as you probably guessed, my recommendation was that we don't support this for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Chair. And the reasons for not approving are overdevelopment, not in keeping,
EG3 design.
EG3 design.
Not in keeping with my. You're quite right, Chair. I should really have let's clarify that before actually making a recommendation. Not in keeping with the main concern, and overdevelopment is a concern of that area generally as well. So we have seconds. We go around the table this thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I mean, there is a policy for redevelopment, which I think it does need redeveloping, but I think it's what is going to be in its place. And if there was a large scale redevelopment of that road with a new style, maybe that would be more in keeping. So I would agree with what you've said, EG3. But I think we should also consider, from the design guide, principle DG38, design buildings with architectural integrity and a sense of place. And I think certainly the front of that building, I don't think has a sense of place down railway approach as it is now. And that's what we need to look at personally. So I agree it needs to be improved down railway approach, but that is for me as it stands. I'd agree with you in the comments so far.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. No, I agree with your comments. Very well put. The DP26 really says that the design must reflect the distinctive character of the town. And at the moment, I don't feel in that location that particular design fits that brief, really. I would concur with what Councillor Peacock said in terms of design guide. Wholeheartedly, thank you.
Anyone? Thank you, Councillor. Anyone?
I'd sort of talk about the shipping containers in the back. I just, apart from not being in keeping, I think it looks like blatant overdevelopment of the site, moving every spare inch. I'm sure they would have loved to have put that 2-story on the back there, but probably thought they'd tried it on enough. So I think there's just a general overdevelopment of the site, and they've also extended out the back. I think if you go back to the previous plans, I think that the footprint has extended, I believe, from where it was before. You've got the original. Yeah, I think that if you look at you probably can see on that with a picture of the roof, and I believe it ends there. So again, they're just extending out back. If you could go up a bit, Chair, to the first. Well, you didn't have a. Sorry, my mistake. I thought there was an existing site plan.
There is online. It's on the top one.
Yes.
So you can see there. So that's really good. So you can see the black outline of what the existing footprint is, and you can see that there. And we haven't got. I don't think that the one they're proposing. Is it the bottom one?
Yeah.
Here we go.
That next one down.
Next one down. It's funny how the mayor knows his slides very well. Yes, on the right hand side here. Thank you, Mayor. you can see where they're extended. They're literally using the whole length of that. And if you look at the back line, you can see they're extending way past that in terms of the line across from the adjoining properties. So I'm not surprised that there's been so many public comments back around.
That's all right.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the boundary line has increased on the frontage. Two things. Obviously, Councillor Peacock did say that there's a redevelopment plan within railway approach. Also, there isn't, because it's town centre, there isn't any requirement for parking anyway, which is a bone of contention, generally speaking. The other thing as well is that just to notify committee that there is a lower ground floor. So below those shipping containers is another floor of apartments, just to let everybody know.
Currently.
No, it will be
on
built
the proposal.
in the proposal. So yeah, that's where they're like. Yeah.
Mushroom.
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, Councillor Oakley. And yes, Councillor Oakley does know this.
Should we recap on the recommendation, Chair? So the committee of the 14th of May would recommend refusal of this application. DP 26 is not supported as it does not fit in this area of the town. DG 3 and DG 38 from the design guide from the District Council would not be supported as this is not a good design for railway approach, being an entry point to the town. Committee noted that parking on railway approach is difficult and said the new residential properties may be difficult to accommodate. This committee are mindful this area is one that the council would seek to have redeveloped, but this design is not favoured as being out of keeping and overdevelopment of the site as well, significantly increased in building rights.
Did you put the Labour plan numbers in?
Yes.
Things? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we should take a vote on that recommendation. Got all those in favour?
That's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, okay, so if we move on to application 2, which is 3 Norton Road, this is a demolition of an existing garage and replacement with a two-story closing with a garage on the ground floor and a home office and additional amenity space on the first floor, accessed via a spiral staircase. I think we've seen one objection to this application. In particular,
Would you like me to, Chair, as Heron Tile?
I was actually going to pass over to you shortly. Yes, so if you do want to jump in now, you're most welcome.
Whatever the Chair's preference.
Well, yes, so Councillor Pond is actually the relevant councillor for this ward.
And myself, sir.
Yes,
Oh, dear.
we're going to fight over it. Councillor Peacock.
Happy to take any comments from either of you or the rest of the committee, but if we could proceed with Councillor Pond for the time being.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair, and Councillor Peacock. Feel free to add comments as we go through. So, thank you, Chair. So currently, this is next to is it ATC? I always get them confused whether it's ATC, not NTC. ATC building down Morton Road. And this is currently a garage, a single story. If you go back up to the picture there, you can see the ATC building there in blue, the sort of metal construct, and then you can see this garage just to the right there. It's worth noting that this is not part of the property next door on the right-hand side, which I think is number 6 Morton Road. This is owned by and part of the land of number 3, which very oddly is opposite and along to. So it's not even directly opposite the plot, but that's just more for awareness than anything else. One thing I did notice, I could not see any planning notice anywhere having popped round there. I could not see anything on display So I think that's something to note. Neither on the building, either the building itself in question, the owning property number 3, or indeed any lamppost there. So just something to note. The objection is coming from number 6, which is to the right-hand side. But before I get to their objection, if we could move on, please, Chair. So this is the existing floor, as you can see from the picture. It's a single-storey garage that's been used. As you can see, it sort of tapers in. So I'm not sure what size car, as we know cars have got larger these days. I'm not sure there's many cars that could fit in there, but nevertheless, I'm sure that it's a useful space. So if we move on to what's been planned. So this is kind of what they envisage and going forward. So you can see there's a ground floor garage with side windows, and then a top floor with skylights, and interestingly a balcony coming onto the front with access to that via, not through the garage, but via the actual spiral staircase on the front, which I thought was interesting, not to go via egress through the garage, possibly space saving, but that's up to the designer on that. We move down one, please, Chair. So you can see that the height is less than both adjoining properties, so I don't believe this is an issue of particularly overbearing or out of keeping. The style is different. If we go, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, Chair. If we go up one, I think the style is different. Having said that, for those that know Moulton Road, it is a bit of a hodgepodge, if I can be perfectly honest, of different styles. So yeah, eclectic is a Councillor Mockford has carefully put that. So it's an eclectic mix of properties along there. So yes, is it in keeping with other buildings along that road? No. Is it particularly, an affront? I think we could probably say the ATC building next door is not particularly appealing on the eye. So I think, again, just from that design guide, I think it's a reasonable design. Yes, it's not traditional Victorian type style like some of the buildings on that road, but again, it's not, I would say, undesirable. So, Chair, sorry, we could move down. So yeah, this is just pointing out some of the access, number of the windows, and then have we got a rear? Because you can see is there a rear picture? Yeah, you can see, and I suppose the one on the right, the one that when I just talked about the neighbour's objection, number 6. So there is no garden, and I'm sorry to Chair, keep moving you around. You go back to the site plan, you'll see there is no garden, or the back of that is the end of the boundary of the property, and the house next door. So if you look at the house on the right, that garden actually goes perpendicular and goes behind it. So the back of that new garage stroke office looks directly onto the garden. Now, the only thing with that is I would say the garden, and no offence to the owner of that garden, it is overgrown. It doesn't look well kept. There is no fence or that I could see. And again, I wasn't trying to go on other people's properties. It was hard to see from the road, but it did seem to be slightly unkept. But clearly it is backing onto that their garden. It's not something they would necessarily be sat out right behind there, but obviously they can use the garden as they see fit. So then just come on to the main objections. There is only one objection, and it is that property on the right. And I think they're asking for something fairly reasonable, which is that the ground floor south facing, so the rear facing windows are frosted, and that they're concerned that people could gain access to their property through the back of the garage into their garden. Now, so off the first, I think it's reasonable to say frosted windows for privacy is reasonable. Personally, somebody would have to break through the garage, go to the back, and then go through the window to go into their property. My personal view is there's a side entrance there. It would be far easier for somebody to just go around the side. So I'm not entirely convinced that somebody would wish to break into the garage, go to the back of it, open the window and climb through to access a garden, which is otherwise accessible. So in respect of that particular comment, I'm not necessarily fully in agreement with that. And interestingly, this particular neighbour has no concern with actually being overlooked from the top window, which actually personally I would have thought they would have more of an issue with somebody being able to see from the top down rather than from the ground floor. But again, they've not objected to that. They just wanted to make note that in future they may plant trees and therefore the trees may in time block that view. So just interesting, frosted glass bottom, but not top. And they wanted to not have opening windows on the ground floor in case of access. So, I have no, I would like to put forward, oh, sorry, do we want to go comments first?
No, no.
Chair?
Recommendation.
Recommendation. I'd recommend to approve, so what I'm looking for, pending, no, subject to, thank you, Mayor, subject to the frosting on the rear glass windows, would be my recommendation.
And I do appreciate you mentioning about the fact it's not, it's the that owns that, which is actually not there, because that threw me out for a long time before I worked out what's going on. Right, anyway, yeah, that's not really relevant. So, yes, can I get a second for that?
Absolutely, I agree with the.
Thank you. I'm so used to Councillor Pond seconding that I didn't know what happens when he's proposed. Yes, open comments. Councillor Peacock, I might come to you because I did.
No, I agree with the recommendation. It's subject to the frosting.
Please forgive me for getting the
No.
relevant ward councillor as well.
No.
Councillor Odie.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, I kind of agree. I don't like the spiral staircase and that Juliet balcony at the front. I think that's hideous. I also think that this is just a preemptive development, and they're going to change it to a block, an apartment. No. Anyway, that's just a pet peeve. Yeah, so I would say that there needs to be a solution for that. I don't think that really is in keeping. I know it's a very eclectic mix of properties there, but I don't like that. And also from a security perspective, I think if it's just an office / amenity, additional amenity space, I'd like to see that removed personally, but it's just my view.
Thank you. Do we have anything else from the floor at this stage? So we do have a recommendation label. So can I have a, do you want to read the
I can do if you like.
clarity? It might be
Just adding in that little comment.
Sorry.
No, absolutely something from Councillor Odie, which you can either leave it or take out. So committee of 14th of May commented that they had not seen any planning site. The street scene is eclectic, therefore would not be out of keeping, although the Juliet balcony and spiral staircase would be unique from the street scene. The comments from the neighbour at number 6 were supported by the committee for the south-facing rear windows to be obscured in order to preserve privacy for the garden. On balance, the committee would support approval subject to rear ground floor windows being obscured.
Thank you very much. On that basis, can I see a vote for approval? Thank you very much.
I just point, sorry, Chair. I mean, if at some point that is converted, I think it becomes into a property. That's a different issue in terms of certainly the access to it.
Okay, so if we go to our next application, which is what was home base. So it's on London Road, and so it's the proposed demolition of the existing DIY retail unit and construction of Class E retail food store, of which we probably well know the brand of the food store. To have a living with associated parking, landscaping and access. We do have a few objections on that. So another thing we talk about is congestion over towards that way. And that is a concern for those that have commented on the congestion on the Lingfield roundabout specifically. And there is also similar installed in very close proximity as it happens. I don't know if councillor.
Yeah, I do believe it's in, thanks, Chair, I do believe it's in more. The actual change of use, potentially, well, it's not really change of use, it's retail to retail, so that's not really planning consideration. I have one serious issue, which is traffic and cumulative traffic impact. To the senior planning officer at the district council, to copy to yourself and the town clerk and to the vice chair with serious concerns about the increase in volume of traffic per se. It's a tricky one because the amount of car parking spaces pretty much stays the same. So they've done it very cleverly, but we all know that there are so many important junctions coming onto and off that road, leading to leading to the station. We've already got that area of about 300 metres major constriction between the two bridges. The traffic going southbound consistently, pretty much not just at peak times, but at main other times, is queued up right the way back to quite often to Manor Road. And this will just exacerbate it. We've seen the effect that, and particularly traffic going south, trying to turn left into the proposed supermarket car park, will just be queued on the road. We see it at McDonald's consistently, and it just causes gridlock within seconds, and it's very dangerous. On that basis alone, I seriously object to this application, just on transport and highways grounds. So I recommend refusal, Chairman.
Very much.
I'll second that, Chair.
Yes. So we've having had a recommendation put before us, is there anyone else who wishes to make any comments at this time? Also in behind ward councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, just to reiterate what Councillor was going to say. DP21 is the